This is Morning Motivation for Educators on the B Podcast Network. Learn about all the shows at bpodcastnetwork.com. You'll hear from a variety of formal and informal educators who help put this podcast together. If you'd like to contribute your voice to this show, please go to morningmotivationedu.com to apply. I'm Danielle Nuhfer, an educator for over 20 years who went up against 2 bouts of serious teacher burnout before finally realizing that I needed to share what worked and what didn't with educators everywhere. This is when Teaching Well was born. At Teaching Well, I partner with schools who recognize that when schools prioritize well-being, true teaching and learning can happen. And there's nothing more integral to building this kind of school culture than finding ways to care for yourself in the midst of all the school day hustle and bustle. That's what this podcast is all about. So let's begin. Today's morning motivation is remember that good enough is good enough. As educators, we try so hard to make things perfect, and this can be a wonderful thing. Our students in schools are a high priority, and we take pride in what we do and how we do it. However, sometimes this perfectionism can keep us busy doing things that aren't great uses of our time. I remember I used to think my perfectionism was both my greatest strength and greatest weakness. This served me well for a brief time as an educator, but it really started to wear me down when I worked so hard in so many areas and then couldn't even meet my own expectation. This resulted in me really dropping the ball on a lot of things. So the very thing I tried to avoid by working so hard ended up coming true because I didn't ever give myself the gift of good enough. So I invite you all to think about the things that you spend your time doing and try to breathe and let go of the idea that it will all ever be perfect. Sometimes good enough is good enough. This isn't to say that you need to let go of all the details. It means to truly prioritize what needs your full attention and then let go of the other stuff. So how do we do that? Well, begin by asking yourself some of the following questions. First, ask yourself, what are your absolute non-negotiables? Then, ask yourself, what can I actually let go of? What are the things that no one else is really going to notice anyway? And then number 3, what is the first step I can take today to let good enough be good enough? So I challenge you to go through this process and see if anyone actually even notices the lack of perfection. See if you notice how you feel. Often, good enough is just simply that. This recalibrating of energy may really start to help support your well-being and stress levels. Sometimes giving ourselves permission to have good enough be good enough is the difference between burnout and keeping the flame alive for our profession another day, another week, or another year. So keep this motivation close to your heart today. May you embrace the freedom being good enough and simply good enough can bring. If this morning's motivation resonated with you, I'd love to connect more. You can find all the different ways we can partner together at teachingwell.life. And thanks for listening. Whatever role you have in education, we have a podcast for you at bpodcastnetwork.com. Who among your friends and colleagues needs to hear this message today? Please share it with them right now.